When someone says their English is weak, I wonder if the real problem is language ability or the painful fear created by repeated embarrassment and judgment.
I believe weak English becomes a confidence breaker because society often links fluency with intelligence, ignoring effort, background, struggle, and the courage required to speak imperfectly.
But Altaf, isn't confidence supposed to come from inside, regardless of mistakes, accents, grammar slips, or people laughing at our attempts to communicate?
Ideally, yes, but practically confidence is shaped by experiences, and when learners face mockery, interruptions, corrections, and comparisons, their inner strength slowly erodes.
I agree mockery hurts, yet avoiding speaking makes English weaker. So silence protects ego temporarily, but damages long-term growth and self-belief deeply.
That's true, but many learners don't choose silence. Fear chooses it for them after repeated negative feedback, social pressure, and humiliating classroom or workplace moments.
So are you saying English itself is not the villain, but people's reactions, teaching styles, and unrealistic expectations destroy confidence more than grammar rules?
Exactly. English is just a tool, but society turns it into a measuring stick for worth, success, class, and intelligence, which is extremely unfair.
However, some people use weak English as an excuse, blaming confidence instead of practicing daily speaking, listening, reading, and accepting discomfort honestly.
I won't deny that, Annie, but discipline grows when learners feel safe, supported, and encouraged, not constantly judged for pronunciation or sentence structure.
As a podcast host, I've met learners who improved confidence first. Then English followed naturally through conversations, exposure, mistakes, and patient correction.
Yes, confidence fuels practice, but confidence itself needs nourishment, like positive environments, friendly listeners, relatable role models, and teachers who normalize errors.
Let me challenge you, Altaf. If English is weak, shouldn't confidence logically drop since communication failures affect social and professional interactions daily?
Communication failure is real, but confidence should not depend solely on one skill. People have talents, ideas, ethics, and intelligence beyond language fluency.
Still, in interviews, meetings, and presentations, English weakness can silence brilliant minds, making confidence collapse at crucial moments unfairly.
That's why I advocate separating self worth from skill level, because skills are trainable, temporary, and improvable, while self respect should remain stable.
Yet learners often internalize criticism, thinking, my English is weak, so I am weak, which becomes a destructive mental loop.
Breaking that loop requires awareness, Annie, teaching learners that mistakes mean progress, not stupidity, failure, or permanent limitation.
Do you think traditional education systems worsen this problem by focusing on exams, accuracy, and fear of wrong answers instead of communication?
Absolutely. Schools reward silence over speaking wrong, creating students who know rules but fear using them in real life situations.
That explains why many adults understand English but panic when asked to introduce themselves, share opinions, or speak spontaneously.
And that panic damages confidence faster than any grammar mistake because it feels like public exposure of perceived inadequacy.
Some argue confidence comes after fluency, not before, suggesting learners should study quietly. Until perfect, then speak confidently.
Perfection is an illusion, Annie. Even native speakers hesitate, forget words, mispronounce, and restructure sentences while speaking naturally.
Good point. So, waiting for perfect English only delays confidence and reinforces fear, creating a never ending preparation phase.
Exactly. Learners must speak while weak, confident while imperfect, and proud while progressing. Otherwise, growth becomes impossible.
But how can someone rebuild confidence already broken by years of ridicule, failed attempts, and comparison with fluent peers?
Start small, safe spaces, one friend, one mirror, one recording, one supportive community, and gradual exposure without pressure.
I like that. But online platforms sometimes increase anxiety through comments, trolls, and unrealistic success stories shared constantly.
True, digital spaces can both heal and harm. Learners must choose environments promoting empathy, realism, and gradual improvement.
From your teaching experience, what mindset shift helps learners most when English weakness damages their confidence deeply?
Understanding that fluency is a journey, not an identity, and today's weakness does not define tomorrow's ability.
I've noticed learners gain confidence when they realize listeners focus more on ideas than minor grammar mistakes.
Yes, communication is about connection, not perfection, and most listeners appreciate effort more than flawless sentence structure.
Still, accents remain a big confidence killer, especially when learners feel ashamed of sounding different or non native.
Accents are identity markers, not errors, and global English belongs to everyone, not just specific countries or pronunciations.
So, confidence grows when learners stop chasing native like English and aim for clear, understandable communication instead.
Exactly. Intelligibility over imitation, clarity over perfection, confidence over comparison should be the real learning goals.
Let me ask bluntly, Altaf, did weak English ever break your confidence personally during your learning journey?
Yes, many times, especially early, but those moments taught me empathy, resilience, and the importance of supportive teaching.
That honesty itself builds confidence in learners who see you as proof that weakness is temporary, not permanent.
And that's why I share my struggles openly so learners feel normal, not defective, for facing similar challenges.
Some parents unknowingly damage confidence by comparing children's English with others, thinking pressure creates improvement.
Pressure without support creates fear, Annie, while encouragement with guidance creates sustainable confidence and real progress.
Workplaces also contribute by valuing fluent speakers more, even when ideas, skills, and ethics matter equally.
That imbalance must change, but until then, learners should remember English is a skill requirement, not a character judgment.
So the real debate question becomes, does weak English break confidence, or does broken confidence make English weak?
I believe it's a cycle, Annie. Weak English hurts confidence, broken confidence blocks practice, and stagnation reinforces weakness.
Breaking the cycle requires intentional confidence building alongside language learning, not waiting for one to fix the other.
Exactly. Confidence exercises, speaking challenges, positive self talk, and realistic goals must accompany grammar and vocabulary study.
Learners often ask me, what if people laugh again? And I struggle to answer honestly, yet encouragingly.
I tell them laughter reflects others' immaturity, not your worth, courage, or potential, and growth demands risk.
That's powerful because confidence is an absence of fear, but willingness to act despite fear and possible judgment.
Yes, confidence is practiced just like English through repetition, discomfort, reflection, and gradual improvement.
Do you think sharing stories of famous people who struggled with English helps rebuild learner confidence?
Definitely. Relatable success stories normalize struggle and show that weakness today can become strength tomorrow.
Sometimes learners expect fast results, and slow progress makes them doubt themselves and lose confidence again.
That's why realistic timelines matter. Language growth is slow, layered, and invisible daily, but powerful long term.